Justin Fields erasing the Bears essentially from his social media, which is like the thing now, right? Like that's what the younger the older I get and the younger these players get, the more behavior I don't understand. And I guess I have to like put myself into like people, especially young athletes and young fans, put a lot of stock into what happens on social media for whatever reason. And when you go to erase your team's photos or teams from your bio and you start following players of other teams, in this case, he's following a bunch of Falcons players, and it's like, you know, what is going on with Justin Fields? Ryan Poles came out on the combine and basically said some version of, hey, we want to do right by him, or whatever we do, we're going to make the right decision. And I'm kind of like in my head, like, well, what are you waiting for? You knew you've had the number one pick or two top 10 picks basically all season, or, the latter half of the last season. I never understood the 11th hour draft day deal when you have the number one pick. Like, trade the player or don't trade him, or say you're not going to trade him. What do you think of Ryan Poles? Well, first, I have a two-part question. What do you think of Ryan Poles' comments? And then how do you feel? What's your confidence level in Ryan Poles as your Chicago Bears GM right now?
First and foremost, I want to answer the second one. Ryan's a dog. Ryan is an absolute animal. Ryan did stuff I could swear on here. Ryan did shit that no one had the balls to do. You got rid of Khalil Mack. You got rid of Akeem Hicks. You got rid of Matt Nagy. And, well, you didn't get rid of Matt Nagy, but basically got rid of Matt Nagy in the hiring of Ryan Poles. And you understood that, yeah, here's the pillars of the Bears, the Allen Robinsons, the Cole Kmets, all these guys, but I'm going to do it my way. And if you don't like that, you get the fuck out of town. And that's really what it came down to. Got rid of Eddie Jackson, got rid of Cody Whitehair, freed up $80 million this year and over $100 million last year, back-to-back number one overall picks. And the draft picks he's had, the Jaquan Briskers, the Tyreek Stevensons, the Kyler Gordons. I mean, we can go on. The Darnell Wrights, I mean, they're great, and they're turning into something that we want to continue to see have success. And those are just a couple cats. I know somebody's going to come in the comments. I forgot somebody. Like, those are just guys of recency that have had so much success. And Ryan has done an absolutely amazing job. Now, PR-wise, Ryan does not care. Ryan will give you the most generic answer. We're going to do right by Fields. Okay, I assume that. Oh, we're going to figure out what we're going to do with the number one overall pick. Okay, I also assume that. So, like, he's not giving his hand, and he also doesn't feed into that Ryan Pace for the old Bear heads that know just a few years ago. With Ryan Pace, it was always these long, thought-out answers just for him to sign some veteran to a way too long extension like Mike Glennon or somebody along those lines. And it's like, bro, like we know we can't trust you with these picks, and we know we can't trust you financially. But with Ryan, I mean, he just says what he needs to say. He's there so he doesn't get fined, and he makes sure that he does right by everybody. He's given me no reason thus far to say that he hasn't been a great GM. I mean, we have excelled every single year since he's come in, going all the way from the bottom and to winning 7 games this year. I'm expecting next year to be that next leap, depending on who quarterback play is, whether it's Fields, whether it's Caleb, whether it's somebody else. I expect a lot from him, man. I think he is greatness.
So the template, and I know you probably don't want to hear this, but the template is in your own division, right? Yeah. It's the Detroit Lions. And so when I look at what Ryan Poles is saying and doing, I'm thinking of the Detroit Lions, specifically keeping Matt Eberflus, who, as you know, has been the point of a lot of contention in Chicago. And on Stuff About Sports, me and Bert always talk about the 3-year window.
Yeah.
You have to give me a 3-year sample size before I decide you're good or bad, right? That's typically things can't change in a season or two, because you obviously, as a new coach, you need your season to assess, you need your season to clean up, and then you need your season to build on what you fixed or supposedly fixed. So to me, I can't give you a grade, or I can't judge anything you do, regardless of how good or bad you do in your first or second season, until after 3 years. So you decided to keep Matt Eberflus. This will be his 3rd year, correct?
Yeah.
So I know it hasn't gone well yet, but as you've stated, okay, you came out and won 7 games. The beginning of the season, I think, went great for the Bears in terms of building excitement. A lot of that had to do with Justin Fields, but you can see it kind of going towards a good direction, kind of. And the Bears, I mean, the Lions were in the same boat, right? Dan Campbell came in the first year, didn't do good, but he had to clean that team up.
Right.
30 years of being terrible, you're not going to fix it overnight. And so, then the next year you win a couple more games. Still not a good team. Then that third year, here come the Lions.
Right.
And now they're knocking on the door of playing in a Super Bowl. So it's like, the Bears, you're not going to get better switching coaches all the time. I get that maybe if you had a chance to get Jim Harbaugh, that's kind of the move you kind of make. I don't know how much you wanted him or not, but that would be the only reason for me, unless you have a head and shoulders better option.
Yeah.
You stick with what you got until you come up with something better. So I think the Bears, regardless of the results so far, did a pretty good job or did the right thing in sticking with Eberflus because you're already going to have a bunch of change anyway. And so
my thing, if we could just go on the Flus thing really quick, is I think it was a mistake from the beginning. I think Brian Dable was the right move. And I think that isn't a Ryan Poles fault. That is exactly what the McCaskey family has been for the Chicago Bears. George Halas, absolute phenom, one of the pillars of the NFL, he's gone. Point blank, period. He's been deceased for years. God rest his soul. But this run first team with top of the line defense, smash mouth football, those days are over. We need to stop. My thing is, we always talk about the revolving door on my pod. I talk about the revolving door of offensive coordinators. Jay Cutler had 6 in 8 years for the Chicago Bears, and you tried to figure it out. Why didn't it work with B. Marsh and Forte and Bennett and Jeffrey? Because he had 6 offensive coordinators, and almost all of them, if not all of them, were first-time offensive coordinators other than Adam Gase. And the second he had success, he got a head coaching job. The Bears are doing this thing. Let's say right now they take Caleb Williams. I know we're going to get into that in a little bit, but if you have him, and like you said, you have 3 years to have success. So you've hired John Fox, brought in Mitchell Trubisky, then fired him immediately after. So Mitchell Trubisky had a second head coach going into year 2 in Matt Nagy. Then you brought in Justin Fields. And after 1 year with Matt Nagy as his head coach, you fired Matt Nagy. And now you brought in another defensive coordinator in Matt Eberflus. So let's see. Trubisky has 2 coaches in 2 years. Fields has 2 coaches in 2 years. If you draft Caleb and fire Flus at the end of the year, Caleb will be going on his second head coach in 2 years. And it's just this narrative that they do is bringing in coaches who, 1, didn't draft the kid, or 2, don't know how to use him. So for me, the Bears are in this situation right now. Whether Shane Waldron has success or not, let's say Justin Fields is on the Bears, he's an MVP candidate. Okay, Shane Waldron is now going to end up being, just like Ben Johnson, potentially a head coach candidate somewhere else, and you're going to have another OC come through the door. So my thing with Flus, it's not Flus. Flus is a great guy. He's a cornball. He's got a lot of jokes that I hate in the media. I like that, but I hate it. The beard looks nice. But I think at the end of the day, man, that's what you are as a defensive coordinator. The DC, he was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Flus was great after he took over for Alan Williams, which was a shit show in the first half of the year with Alan Williams and Chase Claypool, everything that went down with that, the whole HR debacle, the Fields versus Getsy, which that shouldn't have even been a thing going into year 2. Getsy should have been gone by the start if they really cared about Fields. And it's one of those things to me where it's like, if you're just going to throw, whether it's Caleb Williams or Justin Fields, if you're going to throw another DC head coach on top of it, there's never going to be that continuity of an actual scheme because they don't know how to hold on to offensive coordinators. Like, I believe Shane Waldron is one of 3 guys who have been offensive coordinators for the Bears in the last 2 decades that aren't first-time offensive coordinators in the NFL. And that's a red flag. Like, you're hiring passing game coordinators. You hired Luke Getsy, who held Aaron Rodgers' jockstrap for a few years with Nathaniel Hackett in Green Bay. Just because of that, he gets a job, and all he does is what? Against Green Bay, Week 18. Jerem, we're looking at 6 straight run plays up the middle, HB dive Madden style, like with Khalil Herbert. What do we? 1 run play designed for Justin Fields. What are we doing? So that's where I'm at. I think that's my only critique on Ryan Poles, and it's not really a critique because if you're a Bears fan, you understand that comes from the top, and that's something that's kind of out of Ryan's control.
So speaking of defending or supporting Justin Fields, DJ Moore, the number 1 receiver you acquired from the Carolina Panthers, came out and basically put the Bears on notice as far as I'm concerned. Hey, these quarterbacks in the draft, they ain't shit. Don't draft them. All right, it's Justin Fields or bust. And so when I heard that, I said, "Whoa!" That to me is a direct. It's 1, it's facts. 2, it's a direct challenge to Ryan Poles. Don't you draft Caleb Williams, because if Caleb Williams comes in and he's ass, I am also now out of here,
Oh, for
because
sure.
I'm not dealing with that. Career bests for DJ Moore. Back to number one, saved my fantasy season. I was very happy. So, what were your thoughts on DJ Moore kind of publicly? I'm embellishing here, but kind of calling out his GM or kind of issuing a line in the sand challenge type deal, or is that how you took it?
I mean, yeah, he's also like, especially at the combine and especially during the Super Bowl, he's kind of backtracked that just a little bit. He's not saying, he doesn't want Justin. He's not saying he wants Justin. He's just saying whatever quarterback I have, woo, woo, woo. You know what I mean? It's going to be okay. I'm going to figure it out. And I understand that, but he's been vocal about it from the beginning. And you kind of hit it on the head, and I have so many numbers here that I have for you that I was excited to talk about, because this is exactly what we talk about. This is ball. Like if we're going to sit on a pod and just talk about, Caleb painting his fingernails or Caleb crying to his mom, this isn't a legitimate pod. You know what I mean? It's fun. Mm-hmm. It's great banter to have. It's great little skits and segments that Chicago media does. He loves deep dish pizza. I could give a fuck. Like when you look at it for what it is, I refuse to talk about Caleb Williams and Justin Fields' NFL experience. Oh, well, Justin hasn't had success in the fourth quarter in the NFL. Well, Justin hasn't done this in the NFL. Why are you talking about that? Because if you base it off of collegiate sports and you base Caleb Williams in the Pac-12 in a puppy dog league that doesn't even exist anymore because it was so bad and nobody cared, and Utah's winning championships. What are we talking about? Oregon and Utah are winning championships. People care? No one cares. And one big thing I'm taking away from it is if you're going to judge Caleb Williams, you have to look at Justin Fields at the collegiate level. He clears Caleb Williams. Sure, Caleb's got a Heisman, but when you look at the numbers, both of them 3 seasons. Justin was 2019 to 2021. Caleb was 2021 to 2023. So they were never kind of there at that same window. But when you look at it in 3 seasons, I'm looking at Justin right now, 5,701 passing yards to Caleb's 3,633. 67 passing touchdowns for Justin Fields, 30 for Caleb Williams, 9 interceptions for Justin, 5 for Caleb. And they both have 60.4 and 68.6, 68.4, 68.6 on a completion percentage. That's cool. Rushing touchdowns, Justin's got over 1,000. Caleb's at 960. 19 rushing touchdowns for Justin. This was kind of cool. 27 for Caleb. But again, it's the Pac-12, so I could probably rush about 5. You got Justin, though. Here's the big one for me, Jerm. This is the one. I'm almost done with this, I promise.
No, you're good. I love it.
Sure. Heisman nominee for Justin. Great competition. Lamar, Jalen, all these guys throughout the years. Awesome. Devontae Smith. And then you look at a guy like Caleb, Heisman winner, shit Pac-12. Makes sense. You know what I mean? Kind of like Lamar Jackson. Lamar won a Heisman, but it's kind of like, who did Lamar play? You know what I mean? But Lamar was a dog. Right. No cap about it. But like Lamar also wasn't out there going up against Clemson and the Big Ten and all stuff like that. But you look at their records. We talk about Caleb Williams. We talk about Justin Fields. Now, Caleb played a lot more at Oklahoma than Justin did at Georgia, so I will put that into that topic. But even so, Justin, only 2 losses came in the national championship and 1 other game in the playoffs. He has a 20-2 college record, and Caleb is 24-10.
Yeah.
Like that's the Justin gets to the national championship. Caleb's never even won a fucking Pac-12 championship. So what are we talking about? If Justin Fields was in the 2024 NFL draft today, he would be the number 1 overall pick going to the Chicago Bears. So if that's how you're going to evaluate it, if you're a Chicago fan or you're a Caleb Williams fan, get the fuck out of here. If you're going to tell me, oh, well, Justin didn't have success in the NFL. Okay, but Justin clears Caleb in college. And if that's the case, how is Caleb going to look? Oh, he throws like Patrick Mahomes. 1, no, he doesn't. 2, what are you talking about? And 3, Justin clears. Justin as a better athlete, a better winning percentage, more yards, more touchdowns, double the touchdowns. I mean, what do we? Oh, well, he had Jackson Smith and Jigba and all that. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't care who you had. If you're in the Pac-12, so you should have had triple that if you're the number 1 overall pick. So that's the one thing I don't like, Jerm, is when DJ Moore says that vocally. And people will say, but look at Justin in the NFL. But why are we talking about that? Because, let's throw these guys in the NFL last year, see how Drake May performs. Mitch Trubisky 2.0. Let's see how I like Jaden Daniels. I do like Jaden Daniels a lot.
Yeah.
That's Baby Burrow right there. But
We'll see.
I think it's going to be interesting, man. But that's really where I'm at. Is I love that DJ made that vocalize of like, listen, like these guys are just college athletes. Like we're going to compare Fields' NFL experience with the biggest dogs in the room to some puppy dog ass league in the Pac-12. I can't get with that, man.
Yeah, it's odd. You know, if you were a Chicago fan and you were really excited about, and you were off the Justin Fields, train, and you were watching early Caleb Williams, I get it. But you can't see what he did in the tail end of the college season and think, yeah, it'll be all right in the NFL. Like you didn't play anybody and you were struggling, and you people want to point to he didn't have the right support. Well, he had the right support at the beginning of the year, and you were on his dick. So I don't understand.
Really quick, Germ, just curious. This isn't your knowledge. I think this goes for 90% of any NFL fan. Can you name 3 wide receivers Lamar Jackson had in college?
Hell no.
I can't name one.
No, not one.
I just know Lamar Jackson was a fucking dog, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I couldn't give it to you. And I'm not even a big college fan. I follow the big stuff, but the one thing I do know is that if you're a winner, you win.
Exactly.
You can't have the collapses because a lot of those USC losses were on Caleb Williams, simply not completing passes, simply overthrowing receivers, simply just taking bad sacks, not making poor decisions. Like you're doing that in the Pac-12. You're not going to survive in the NFC North, especially now. You know, say what you want about the Vikings. They're always a solid team every year. I know a lot of people have a lot of words. Kirk Cousins is a top 10-ish quarterback. He's either right inside the top 10 or right outside the top 10. So he's somewhere in that class picture. You have Chicago. That's always, you can't, like, it's a tough city. It's a tough place to play in. You like, regardless of the issues, you know, with roster construction and coaching, and obviously the Green Bay Packers are coming. So it's like, if you can't get it done in the Pac-12, the NFC North, historically always a tough division within the division anyway, in terms of competitiveness against each other. You're not going to make it, man. You have to win. You know, you play, what do you play? 5 games, 6 games, you know, whatever it is, 6 games in your division every season. Yeah. You have to win at least 4 of those. And so to at least have a chance to win the division, you know, or at least make the playoffs. So and you answered my question. I was actually going to ask you next. Would you just stick with Justin Fields or draft Caleb Williams? It sounds like you would just stick with Justin Fields here.
Listen, I've been an athlete my whole life, and I haven't played on the highest level, but I've played with some of the greats to do it. And one is Jack Sawinski of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I didn't get a chance to play with him, but I played against him for 4 years. And I'll tell you what, they went to war for that kid. And I've gone to war for my guys. There's some teams it's just like, man, I ain't laying down this block. I ain't going after this. Like, I don't care. We suck. Coach sucks. It is what it is. But when you get that right guy, I will run full speed into a brick wall head first. I have no problem doing it again as soon as I get back up. Might take a few minutes, but I'll get back up. But I think that's one of the biggest things with Justin Fields, man, is I'm going to war. Like, I'm down with it. You know, I've seen Caleb kind of throw his guys under the bus, and I've seen Flus do the same thing. I saw Flus, you know, at the combine talking about it the other day, is like, oh, well, we want a quarterback that – what did he say? I have it right here. He said something that just like, I was pissed. He said the Bears need a quarterback who's good in end of game situations. But Matt Eberflus is the same guy who led the league in the most blown. He had the most blown leads in the entire league all year long. And throughout his first 2-3 years, he has had the most blown leads. So like, that's a coaching thing, bro. Run the ball then if you don't trust Justin. And that's what it comes down to is like, you know, I think at the end of the day, I don't trust Flus. I definitely didn't trust Getsy. You know, I'd rather do a hell of a lot of other things than trust Luke Getsy in anything football related. So Justin was one of the small things that I took away from the last 2 seasons from the Bears that I said, this kid has been accountable. This kid never once said, yo, this offensive coordinator only calls fucking screen passes. Never once said anything about anybody. And that's where I'm looking at. I've heard Caleb sit on the end of the bench away from his teammates, kind of in his own world, doing his little advertisements. And I'll tell you this, Jeremy, I'll be the first one to say it. I'm not anti-Caleb Williams. Like right now, today, if this was 2020, the end of the road for Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, and then the Andy Dalton stuff coming after that, if it was number 1 overall pick, I would say I want Caleb Williams without a doubt. because I
Right.
know what Mitch is. I know what Mitch was in college, and he was never going to figure it out no matter who they are. And that's been shown through Buffalo and Pittsburgh. But it's like with Justin Fields, I've seen the blueprint in college, and I've seen the blueprint in a season where he rushed over 1,000 yards, breaking single game records from Michael Vick days. Now you're
Mm-hmm.
just going to hand them to Atlanta so they can have this amazing Cinderella story of the hometown kid? Now, fuck that, bro. I want
Yeah.
the story. I
Yeah.
want this to be the first black quarterback to have success in Chicago. I want this to be the kid who came in from the very bottom and came all the way up 0 to 100, and that's just what it was. And it's like, if you have those conversations about, like I told you the one day with Mike, it was like, listen, you had a chance at C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Justin Fields. If 3 of those guys have success and Caleb Williams is anything less than elite, I just gave Ryan all that praise in the world, but you're fired.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud, Justin Fields, if those guys become elite quarterbacks, which CJ already has, I know that's early, but fuck it. You made the Houston Texans relevant with wide receivers that I can't name, so go for it. Like it's one of those things where it's like you pass on CJ, you pass on Justin. If they have success and Caleb's ass, that's your ass, and that's it.
Yeah. It's a tough job. The advantage is they have 2 top 10 picks, right? So like,
Yes,
outside of the quarterback, what do you do, right? Is there a free agent that could come in and help? Do you need a defensive end help, offensive line help? Like, what do you do with that? Do you go get another weapon? Like, it's odd. I looked at the Bears roster and I'm like, man, they have a lot of holes, man, that a quarterback,
right.
whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, won't fix, right? So I'm in the Bill Parcells mindset where there's 4 elite positions that you put above all else, right? Quarterback, which I think the Bears have, it's up to Poles and Eberflus to kind of build around his deficiencies and strengths, right? Like, so you already kind of have that. A lot of people are big fans of Justin Fields, regardless of where you think he ranks or whatever. Pass rusher, which you need, right? You need blindside tackle for whatever side your quarterback, whatever hand you have, and a shutdown corner. I don't know if there's any of those floating around, but what do you think is outside of if you believe quarterback, what is the biggest need the Bears need right now? And do you do that in the draft or do you do that in free agency?
Well, I'll tell you what, sneakily, defensive rookie of the year, Tyreek Stevenson, who didn't get enough flowers, to me, is that lockdown corner alongside Jalen Johnson, who, from what Cole said during the combine, conversations are going well. And you have $80 million, so I don't want a fucking franchise tag. You are extending Jalen Johnson. He's 24. He's a fucking dog. Pay the dude. So I think corner's good. You know what I mean? I do agree. You got to pair somebody up with Montez Sweat. Yannick Ngakoue is not that long-term answer. That man's on a different team like I'm brushing my teeth every single day. You know what I mean? At least twice. You know what I mean? So he's going to be on a different team likely next year. They cut Cody Whitehair. I think center is really the biggest need. That guy under center. You need that guy who the Kyle Long of the room. There's so many different guys I can name right now that are just great offensive guys for the Chicago Bears. But you need him, the Olin Krutz of the world. You know what I mean? Like you need somebody who's going to be able to command this young offensive line. I like Tevin. I like Darnell. Nate Davis had a death in the family from what we understood during all of training camp. Not all of it, but he had stuff going on during training camp. So coming in with an injury, death in the family in the offseason, I'm going to give him another year because I understand how that goes. You know what I mean? You want to see it again. I know who he has been, so I'm not going to sit here and say that he's just a bum. You know what I mean? I want to see it again. Right. I believe in Braxton Jones. I believe you need that center, and you need Marvin Harrison Jr. It's not a question. Like I don't. Roma Dunze, cool. Neighbors, cool. I believe Malik, right? Malik Neighbors,
yes,
cool. That's fine. They're not Marvin. Talent-wise, they're not Marvin. Maybe they had better seasons. Fine. They're not Marvin. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. I'll paint you a little picture. 2006, a 6-year-old Mike Hughes, heartbroken, shattered. Devin Hester kickoff, gets a touchdown in the Super Bowl and loses to Marvin Harrison Sr. Who's at the game is Marvin Harrison Jr. Rewrite history, baby. Ryan Poles has an opportunity to take the kid whose dad beat us in the Super Bowl and now win one with us. And that's really where I'm at with it is like, bro, you have Justin Fields, dynamic dual threat quarterback. You have DJ Moore. He's superstar level quarterback or wide receiver, I would say. You have Cole Kmet, top 10 tight end, got a solid offensive line, a top 5 defense. Cool. Where's the X factor? Other than Justin Fields, where's the X factor on the team? You don't have one. Marvin is an X factor. And that's something for me where, hey, cool, you draft Caleb. Now you got a rookie wide receiver he's throwing to in DJ Moore. That's not better than Justin Fields going into year 4, DJ Moore, and Marvin Harrison Jr. It's just not. You have so many options there, especially with the slot when you have Tyler Scott. I still love what Scott did at Cincinnati with Desmond Ridder. I still think if he can hold on to the ball, that kid's going to at least have 500 yards a season. So I think that's something for me that I'm really looking forward to. I go Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that's the biggest need because we've seen it time and time again. Can't just have one guy. Unless you're Patrick Mahomes, who for somehow, some way turns random wide receivers into amazing athletes. So I think at the end of the day, that's where I'm at. I would address that wide receiver too, because really I think that wide receiver too, if it's Marvin, very quickly becomes wide receiver 1.
Yeah, when you're Patrick Mahomes and you're the second greatest quarterback of all time, you can win with trash like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney.
Oh my God.
The one thing I don't like about Justin Fields is in the midst of all this drama, he said that LeBron James is greater than Michael Jordan.
Fucked up. And definitely. The whole podcast was great. You know, unfollowing, understood it. I would unfollow too if it wasn't my job to cover him. Like, I'm tired of seeing it. Caleb, Justin, every single day. Like, if that's me, Jerem, I'm not sure about you. When I'm on vacation, I'm not calling my boss every day asking how Jewel Osco is going. You know what I mean? Right. I'm on vacation, so I'm sure he's tired of it. But that was a fuck up. I can't lie.
Even if he believes it, and again, I'm old, so I can't. There's not a world where I'm going to tell you that LeBron James is greater than Michael Jordan, also it's just factually inaccurate. But you're a young guy. I get it. You didn't watch Michael Jordan. You watched LeBron James your whole life. So I can buy it, even though I disagree. And I think that young people have this blindsidedness.
Right.
When you are the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, you cannot say that openly. What you need to say is LeBron James is my favorite player.
Right.
But Michael Jordan's the greatest. You don't have to believe it, man. We say things we don't mean every day. It just happens. I don't go to work like, man, I sure love going to work. No, sometimes I hate it. It's fucked up. It's shitty. I'd rather be at home, but I don't go to work saying, man, you guys fucking suck. Like, I'd rather be at home. When I heard that, I said, things are not as happy as they seem. Justin Fields needs better media training because even if you internally are on the way out and maybe you know that, you can't say that publicly. Just like DJ Moore can't openly defend the quarterback versus the GM, right? There's certain things you have to be smart about, because now what DJ Moore did to Ryan Poles is, because if Ryan Poles goes out and drafts Caleb Williams, it becomes an issue. Now it's like, whoa, DJ, look what he did. You said you didn't want it, and that's before the season even starts, let alone what happens on the field. Because if it doesn't work out on the field, now you've made it even 10 times worse than it would have been. If Justin Fields ends up staying, people are just going to keep bringing that shit up. Hey, oh, you still think Michael Jordan? How could you go? On the Mount, Jordan's on the Mount Rushmore of sports, like that. Let alone the Mount. Obviously, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Chicago sports. He's on the Mount Rushmore of all sports, and so
he's on the Chicago one twice. I would say
twice. There's 2 spots for him, right? So it's like he might have taken Ernie Banks' spot. I don't know. So it was just when I heard that, man, I was like, man, I hate the way these types of things play out. So I just thought that was funny.